I never imagined a cleaning lady could change my life by protecting my special daughter. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started with a phone call, a simple ring that shattered my world. "Mom, I'm scared," my daughter, Emily, whispered through trembling lips. A cold chill ran down my spine. I rushed home, my heart pounding like a drum. My hands were shaky, sweat trickling down my back. Emily's eyes were wide, filled with fear. In her vivid, innocent world, shadows had crept in. I could see the lines of worry on her forehead. There's something in the house," she stammered, glancing over her shoulder, fear gripping her voice. I felt a lump rise in my throat. Doubt pressed against my chest. How could I protect her from something I couldn't see? Days turned into nights filled with dread. The whispers crescendoed in the silence of our home. I had tried everything, locking doors, checking under beds, but the fear hung heavy in the air like a thick fog. My routine started to slip. I forgot to eat, to sleep. My only focus was Emily's safety. That's when Maria, our cleaning lady, entered the picture. I didn't think much of her at first. Just a humble woman with tired eyes and worn hands. Her English was broken, but her kindness was clear. One evening, as I sat on the edge of Emily's bed, thinking of ways to conquer the darkness, Maria knocked softly. I invited her in, and she asked if everything was all right. "There are things in this house," I confessed, my voice breaking. To my surprise, her expression changed. It was as if she understood, as if she had seen things I couldn't even fathom. She leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper. "I can help," she said. The next day, I watched her go to work with an intensity one hadn't seen before. She moved through our home like a guardian. Every sweep of her cloth, every touch of her hand seemed to summon an energy I couldn't explain. Dust floated in the air like memories long forgotten, and the atmosphere shifted. With each room she finished, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me, but there was something mysterious about Maria. Late at night, I would hear her murmuring in the dark, her voice intertwining with the shadows. She would gather herbs and candles, creating an almost magical aura. I caught glimpses of her gazing out the window, speaking to the night, like she was calling to spirits I couldn't see. My curiosity grew. Who was this woman really? What power did she hold? As I let my fears creep back in, I overheard Emily tell Maria her secrets. "I see shadows," she confessed, gripping Maria's hand tightly. With that, I felt my heart tremble. What could they be speaking about? Was Maria the shield I'd been waiting for? Or was she entangling my daughter deeper into something I couldn't protect her from? I clung to the hope that she was helping, yet uncertainty gnawed at me. I never thought I'd question the safety of the soul willing to help us. Was it the very person coming to our rescue? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days began to blend into each other, with shadows creeping deeper into our home. The whispers that once felt foreign began to entwine around our lives like an uninvited guest. I could see Emily's joy fading. She would often sit in silence, drawing her beloved princesses accompanied by dark shapes in the corners of the pages. Their presence had transformed the bright bursts of color into storms of despair. One afternoon, while Maria meticulously cleaned the living room, I found myself spiraled into dark thoughts. How could I trust her? The line drawn between protector and potential threat blurred in my mind. As I paced the room, nerves electrifying my skin, a gentle voice broke the reverie. "Mom, can I talk to you?" Emily called, her usually bright eyes clouded by worry. I knelt down to her level, inviting her to share what stirred in her heart. What if the shadows have a story? She asked softly. What if they're just lonely? My heart ached. It felt like she was trying to unravel a truth far more vast and complex than I could bear. Before I could respond, Maria settled beside us. Every shadow has a tale to tell, she said, her voice dancing with a strange warmth. Sometimes, they are not out to harm us but await a kind soul to listen. A flicker of understanding glimmered in Emily's gaze, sparking a glint of curiosity. I felt a deep pang of uncertainty. Was this a route toward acceptance or a descent into darkness? In the following days, I battled with my instincts. I spent countless sleepless nights, tangled in a web of worry while Emily immersed herself deeper into conversations with Maria. They shared stories whispered in hushed tones, laughter mingling with the shadows that cloaked our home. It felt as if they were building a small world within ours, where I was but an observer. One evening, I stood in the doorway, half hidden, as I watched them gather on the living room floor, a soft glow from a candle illuminating their faces. Tell me how you became friends with the shadows, Emily asked, her voice edged with lingering childhood innocence. Maria smiled in the way only a soul who understands pain can. Once, I was afraid, just like you. The shadows whispered to me, and instead of running, I listened. The way they connected reminded me of the laughter I'd missed in our home. Yet, a lingering fear coiled tightly around my heart. I felt a pull, like a desperate attempt to control a situation spiraling away from me. What if you're wrong? I wanted to shout. What if she was leading Emily into a world far more perilous than the one I could see? Days passed, and Mariah's rituals around the house grew more elaborate. I caught her gathering herbs in the dusky light, eyelids fluttering as if she were in communion with something beyond this realm. I often woke in the night to soft chants that wrapped around me, soothing yet unsettling, drawing me into a treacherous dance between faith and fear. One stormy night, when the wind howled like a banshee, I could no longer remain silent. I stormed into the living room, catching Maria mid-ritual. The candles flickered wildly, as if startled by my presence. Emily looked up, her happy expression replaced by confusion. Mom, enough. I breathed, my voice quivering with a mix of anger and fear. You can't do this. You don't know what you're inviting into this house. My chest tight with dread and my heart severed by the thought of losing Emily to mysteries I couldn't comprehend. Maria, eyes dark and steady, rose to meet my gaze. I offer understanding, not fear. You must decide if you want to keep living in the shadows of worry or to face what might be lurking there with courage. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, breaking the tension in an instant. As we turned towards the sound, the darkness seemed to swell, wrapping itself around us like a suffocating blanket. My heart raced as I felt the air shift, a chill creeping up my spine. Emily! I shouted, reaching for her hand, but she hesitated, looking back at Maria, confusion swirling in her eyes. That I felt a palpable silence envelop us, a moment suspended in dread. What now lurked between us, and what had we truly awakened? The brief silence shattered as the kitchen light flickered violently, casting erratic shadows that danced across the walls. Just as my heart threatened to burst through my ribcage, I sprinted towards the sound, still clutching Emily's hand. Stay close. I urged, my voice rising with urgency. I could sense Mariah's presence behind me, a stillness that contrasted with my own frantic energy. As we entered the kitchen, I froze. A heavy pot lay shattered on the floor, its remnants glistening like dark jewels in the soft glow of the overhead light. But it wasn't just the mess that struck horror within me. The air felt thick, charged as if a storm brewed not only outside but inside my soul. I glanced around, searching for an explanation, half hoping to see a simple sign that would calm my racing thoughts. Is anyone here? I called into the unsettling quiet, my voice echoing back, taunting me. Emily tugged on my hand, her little face scrunched with concern. Mom, maybe it was just the wind. She suggested, but there was a tremor in her voice that betrayed her fear. It's more than that, I murmured, turning slowly to face Maria. It's the shadows. They're watching. I could see her breathing steadily, that serene mask she wore slipping for just a moment as a flicker of worry danced in her eyes. "We need to calm ourselves," she finally said, though her voice wavered slightly. "Everything can be understood if we blend our fears with openness." I scoffed inwardly, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I recognized the truth of her words. Suddenly, a gust of wind howled through the open window, sending a flurry of papers cascading off the counter like a wild dance of spirits, pulling our attention back to the present chaotic moment. I grabbed at the nearest object, an old spoon, my heart racing with inexplicable instinct, a feeble attempt at protection against the unknown. "Stay close to me." I yelled at Emily, but she seemed drawn to the ancient photographs of our family that had slipped off the wall, their frames cracking against the floor. Each image a bittersweet reminder of what had once been laughter, light, a family whole and unbroken. Just as I bent down to gather the photos, my fingers grazed something cool and slick beneath the remnants of the shattered pot. I recoiled, heart pounding as I dug around in the mess with shaking hands. As I cleared away the shards, a small, ornately carved box revealed itself, its wood darkened with age and decorated with intricate designs that seemed to pulse subtly in the dim light. "Mom!" Emily exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder and terror, as she cautiously approached me. "What is it?" "I don't know." I breathed, the words barely escaping my lips. But as I held the box in my trembling hands, a surge of warmth tickled at my fingertips. The shadows felt thicker now, as if they wrapped closer to mine and Emily's figures, their presence more potent than ever. "Stop!" Maria suddenly commanded, stepping forward. "Let her be." "Let who be?" I gasped, spinning to face her, the box clutched protectively to my chest. "What do you know?" "The box, it's not meant for you. It calls to the darkness, and it's connected to things that remember pain." Her eyes locked onto mine, a mixture of fear and understanding swirling between us. "You're not prepared for what's inside." But I couldn't move. The lure of the box was intoxicating, like a distant song tugging at the very core of my being. I needed to know. A desperate urge overcame me, my consciousness drifting. "Emily!" I called out suddenly, as a realization washed over me. I couldn't drag my daughter into this world of shadows. The edges of my vision blurred as I leaned over the box, captivated. "Mom, please," Emily said softly, her voice breaking through the mist, bringing me back to reality. "What if the box has a story, too?" Like the shadows, her innocence felt both protective and dangerous, igniting a stirring deep within me. But at what cost, my love? Just then, the electricity flickered, and everything around us dimmed momentarily before plunging into a complete blackout. In this enveloping darkness, I felt Mariah's hand slip coolly into mine. "Time for the truth," she whispered, even as the air thickened with something unspoken. Then, as if unleashed from the shadows, a fleeting whisper echoed around us, "Finding the light is the only way." The room grew silent, and in that stillness, I could sense the shadows pressing in, a presence both benevolent and malignant. But as I turned to face Emily, a shocking revelation seared through me. Unmistakable twinkle in her eye mirrored not just innocence, but an understanding that perhaps she, in all her naive brilliance, was the key to unearthing whatever lay entwined in that dark wooden box. "Mom," Emily's voice trembled, but her gaze remained steady. "What if we listened?" The darkness felt alive, pulsating around us like the heartbeat of an unseen creature. I gripped Emily's hand tighter, my own breath shallow as the whisper echoed again, "Finding the light is the only way." It was a promise and a warning wrapped in the same breath. "Listen," I echoed, blinking hard as I turned towards my daughter. She was so small, so fragile, and yet there was a presence about her that made the shadows hesitate. My heart ached with the need to protect her, to shield her from whatever ancient force swirled in the depths of that box. "Yes, Mom," she insisted, squeezing my hand. "Maybe it's not just for us. Maybe it needs to be opened. Like a door." "A door to what?" I shot back, frustration lacing my voice. The flicker of the storm outside seemed to intensify, casting a flickering dance of light and shadow around us. "Emily, we don't even know what we're dealing with," Mariah's voice interrupted, calm yet urgent. There are echoes within the shadows, lessons waiting to be learned. But to tread forward, you must embrace both the light and the dark. It is a dance with trust, and your bond will be tested. Her eyes softened, no longer merely an advisor but a guide who understood far too well the weight of the unknown. But what if we're wrong? I said, the tremor in my voice betraying my wavering resolve. What if it puts you or Emily at risk? Then we'll find another way, Maria replied. Yet as she spoke, I saw the shadows flicker at her feet, as if affirming her unspoken truths. The room itself felt alive with the weight of history, secrets, and the heavy breath of generations past. Emily turned towards me, her wide eyes searching mine, an unwavering faith that made my heart swell with both admiration and dread. Mom, please, she whispered. I want to listen. Like we do with stories. The word stories struck me with a sudden power. Stories held the truths about life, love, and loss. They carried the weight of pain but also the promise of redemption. Would our story take a different turn if we were brave enough? With a sinking heart, I stared at the box, my fingers lightly tracing its surface. The carvings felt warm, almost sentient, and when I drew closer, I could almost hear a muffled voice beckoning me to unveil its mysteries. Still, doubt gnawed at me. What would it take to open this? I asked the darkness surrounding me, half hoping for a sign that would guide me. Maria stepped beside me, the shadows swirling with her movement. It will reveal what you wish to understand, but it will also magnify your fears, she replied. Then why should we? I countered, uncertainty clawing at my resolve. Because, Emily interrupted, her voice surprisingly resolute for such a small child, maybe we have to confront our fears to find the light. Her words hung in the air, poignant and heavy with meaning. The weight of the moment pressed down on me as I leaned in closer to the box, feeling an undeniable pull. The shadows around us seemed to pulse in rhythm with the pounding of my heart, urging me on. I can't do this without you, Emily, I said, my voice breaking, emotions cascading as I recognized her role in this journey. She was the anchor to my spiraling thoughts. You are my light. Then let's find it together, she said, slipping her small hand from mine to rest against the side of the box, sending ripples through the darkness. Just as her fingers met the wood, a sudden explosion of light ignited, brightly illuminating the room, and for a split second, the shadows recoiled. I couldn't draw my gaze away from Emily's face. Her expression had shifted, the fear had evaporated, replaced by an overwhelming sense of calm and purpose, but then, just as swiftly as it had come, the light dimmed to a flicker. I blinked, disoriented, and when I focused again, Emily was staring directly into the box. Mom, it's calling to me, she murmured, her voice crystalline amidst the chaotic echoes around us. Suddenly, I felt a change in the atmosphere, as if an unseen hand were shifting the air around us. The room grew colder, the shadows creeping towards us like tendrils of dark smoke. Panic surged within me as I stepped forward, wrapping my arms around Emily. We need to leave, I urged, fear overpowering the curiosity that had once gripped me, but the moment I thought to retreat, the box began to hum with an ethereal pulse, a low note that resonated deep within the walls of my heart. It vibrated with the assurance of hidden truths yet to be unveiled, stirring an awakening of forgotten memories. Wait! I commanded, my resolve crumbling. What are you afraid of? Emily asked again, not with trepidation but with a fierce determination that pushed against my spiraling doubts. Everything, my love. I fear everything, I confessed, the weight of the world creeping deeper into my chest. But I can't lose you. Just then, a new whisper echoed louder through the space, drowning my fears. Trust in the bond you have. One must fall to rise. I felt that echo tremble through my body, a promise of what was to come, and before I could stop myself, I raised the box to my chest and whispered, "Stay with me, Emily. Whatever happens, don't let go." But even as those words left my lips, I realized something startling. I had clasped the box too tightly, and in that moment, its wooden edge cut into my palm, a sharp pain mingling with a strange warmth. I gasped as I pulled back, my heart racing anew. Eyeing the box, I saw something glinting at the edge. A key? Or perhaps something more. "Mom, what if?" Emily began, but her words were cut short as the shadows lunged closer, pulling the warmth from the air, threatening to swallow us whole. That I was on the precipice of an unknown realm, a choice loomed before me, and as I clasped the box into my trembling hands, the realization hit: the shadows encircling us were not just the darkness, they were waiting for a light to be born out of the very conflict we faced. Before I could breathe, a deep rumble resonated throughout the space, and I knew our journey was just beginning. As I turned to face the darkness, my heart pounding in trepidation and newfound hope, a chilling thought seeped through the shadows. While we searched for the light, could it be that the true revelation laid within ourselves, the burdens we carried from our past? Would Emily ultimately have to bear the weight of both the light and the dark? And just like that, a crack appeared in the box, light spilling through the fissure as I glimpsed visions of the past intertwined with our present, promises and fears pulling us apart and together with each flickering ray. "Mom!" Emily shouted as I felt the world's gravity begin to shift. "Look!" But before I could respond, everything exploded into blinding light, and with it came the final shockwave, the last vestiges of a life I thought I knew, crumbling into fragments, leaving me gasping for what had just been taken away. In that shattering moment, I understood, there was no turning back now. I stumbled backward as the blinding light enveloped us, the air crackling with energy, drowning out the last echoes of caution that circled in my mind. My heart raced, entwining with the fierce urgency of the moment, the grip on Emily slipping slightly as the brightness pulsed like a heartbeat. In that kaleidoscope of luminescence, time fractured. For fleeting seconds, I lost sight of Emily in the whirl of colors. My stomach tightened, that protective instinct clawing at me as if my very essence threatened to unravel. "Emily!" I shouted, the sound barely piercing the roar of light around us. Then, through the afterglow, a small figure emerged, steadily stepping towards me, her silhouette growing sharper against the backdrop of swirling fog. Emily's face illuminated with awe, her wide eyes gleaming like stars, fear replaced by wonder. "Look, Mom! It's beautiful!" she exclaimed, breathless. "What do you see?" I managed to ask, my voice catching in my throat, each word feeling like it was wrapped in a fragile thread of hope. She spun around, her laughter dancing through the luminescent haze. "It's like a garden. So many colors, and they're singing." I blinked, bracing myself against the weight of disbelief. Singing? An unfurling bloom deep within my chest, a promise that lodged itself against the shadows of my fears. "But what does it mean?" I whispered, half to myself, half to the radiant garden that seemed to stretch infinitely before us. Emily reached out a hand, coaxing me to step closer, her spirit brighter than anything I could have imagined. "Mom, there's a path. We have to follow it. Maybe it'll lead us to the light." The pulsing hum vibrated through the air, syncing with the rhythm of my heartbeat. I felt her unwavering faith wash over me, beckoning renewal despite the worry gnawing quietly at the corners of my consciousness. I squared my shoulders and stepped carefully into the kaleidoscope, letting its warmth wrap around us like a protective blanket. Every step ignited a cascade of memories, fragments of laughter from bright summer days, echoes of whispered promises under starlit skies, the biting chill that came with darker memories. I could feel them intertwining, as if the garden itself bore witness to our story, unfolding in tandem with the journey we were about to embrace. But as we advanced deeper, the lively ambience began shifting. The once joyful colors dimmed to a muted haze, the laughter fading into muffled sounds, replaced by the echo of my own rapid breathing. A sense of urgency thrummed through the garden, a reminder that while we danced with the light, the shadows were merely a breath away. A thorny vine reached out, snaring at my ankle, startling me back into awareness. My heart raced with panic as I jerked my foot free, glancing down the path for Emily, who was now standing still, her expression clouded by something I couldn't quite grasp. The wonder in her eyes had flickered. "Emily," I called, rushing to her side, anxiety sharpening my voice. "Are you okay?" She was staring past me, her gaze drawn to a looming figure emerging from the diminishing colors, a shadow that seemed to pulse with a dark vibrancy of its own. Terror wormed its way into my chest as I instinctively pulled her closer. "Stay next to me." But the figure was not menacing. It was a woman, her form shifting between the light and dark of the garden, a visage both familiar and foreign. "Do you not recognize me?" The woman's voice flowed like silver threads, weaving through the air as she brushed her dark hair back behind her ears. In that instant, I felt my heart stop. Images crashed through me, blinding me with raw emotion, a childhood memory blended with the contours of loss. I couldn't breathe as I stared at her, radiating shadows and light. It was a face I hadn't seen in decades, but the essence of her was unmistakable. "Isabel?" I finally managed to choke out. "Your mother," the woman replied softly, her voice echoing against the garden's vibrant colors. "I came searching for you, to protect Emily. No, I whispered, disbelief creeping into the corners of realization. Pain swelled within me as memories flooded over, fragments of conversations, of love mingled with abandonment. "This can't be real. That it is as real as the fears you carry and the shadows that swirl around you. I am here because the bond is stronger than you know." My mind whirled, the tumultuous storm of emotions clawing for clarity. "But you left. You chose to, just as you have chosen to shield Emily from the darkness." "I made choices of my own," she interrupted, an edge to her voice that felt steeped in remorse. "But the ties of blood have their purpose too, even amidst the shadows. No. I shouted, the words firing from my heart, a primal scream against the uncertainty that loomed between us. "You can't expect me to trust you when you abandoned us." In that moment, Emily stepped forward, her small hand gripping mine tightly. "She can't change what happened, but she's here now," she said, the innocent wisdom of her youth echoing in the air. "Mom, maybe she came because we need her." Something inside me twisted, a yearning for forgiveness struggling against wounds that had never fully healed. "You don't know what they did," I spat, feeling betrayal mix with longing in my chest. "You don't know the pain. My choices are no less a part of me than your pain is a part of you. Shadows can be transformed into light, if only you let them," Isabel replied, the dark vibrancy around her becoming brighter. The shadows stretched toward her as if recognizing their kin, and, in that instant, I felt the flicker of hope igniting. A chance for redemption, however distant it seemed. But just as I began to process those words, a chilling wind swept through the garden, twisting everything into an ominous darkness, extinguishing the vibrant colors in an instant. "Emily!" I cried, panic surging anew as I felt the grip on my daughter slip away. I lunged forward, desperately searching. A sickening clarity hit me. The fleeting nature of this newfound connection was about to be ripped apart, swallowed by the dark tendrils creeping back into our lives. "What do you want?" I shouted into the cold abyss, breathing hard as my heart shattered anew. Would I have to choose between the past and the present? The shadows coiled tighter, but then returned in a mesmerizing swirl, forming a dark vortex above me, a maw threatening to consume everything I'd fought to protect. In that critical second, I turned to Emily, who had stepped forward, her face oddly serene, and whispered, "Mom, maybe it's time to trust." "Trust?" I echoed, doubt rising once more. "Trust in the same shadows that tore us apart, maybe," she hesitated, "or maybe trust in the bonds, even the old ones," and just like that, the realization crashed over me. While shadows had defined us, it was not darkness that held us captive, it was our resistance to embrace both parts of ourselves. As I fought to break free from the tendrils grasping at my heart, I took a deep breath, willing myself to release the weight of the past for just a moment. "Together then," I whispered, squeezing Emily's hand tightly, "what do you think? Can we embrace the light and the dark?" The glowing core within me began to pulse with warmth, a renewed hope as I met Isabel's gaze once more. The rift was opening paths entwined between shadows, promises lingering amid pain, and as the dark vortex spiraled closer, threatening to swallow us whole, I found strength in Emily. My daughter, the spark of resilience that could illuminate even the deepest void. "Then let's face it as one," I shouted, my voice rising above the storm, but just as our hands grasped together the garden shuddered violently and the shadows screamed in defiance, propelling us into an uncertain fate that was still without resolution. The darkness closed in, and for one terrifying heartbeat, I knew, we were at the edge of everything we feared but also everything we could become. The moment stretched as the darkness threatened to consume us whole, the world narrowing to this singular point of decision. I was acutely aware of the warmth of Emily's hand in mine, that flicker of hope binding us together against the darkness. And yet, as the shadows twisted around us like fraying threads, doubt seeped in. "Mom, we can't give in," Emily shouted, her voice fierce yet tinged with fear. "We can't let them take us away." The way she spoke had an urgency, as if she was anchoring us to the fragile thread of connection that had stood against turmoil for so long. Her conviction was a fragile light in the engulfing darkness, and I clung to it desperately. "We won't let them," I echoed, though the tremble in my voice betrayed my unease. It felt precarious, a mere illusion that maybe, just maybe, we could manipulate this darkness rather than succumb to it. That I and the maelstrom, I saw Isabel's silhouette shimmer, vacillating between fear and resolve. "Remember what I told you. The shadows are not entirely malevolent. They can teach you as much as they can frighten you if you allow the light within to guide you." With each heartbeat, the shadows pulled tighter, but I could also feel the flickers of warmth sparking in tandem with the fear, the promise that no matter the pain, hope flourished in the spaces where love dared to tread. "Hold on," I shouted, feeling the vibration of the air as I pushed against the oncoming storm. The garden around us quaked, the colors beginning to merge into swirling currents of both bright and dark, a chaotic ballet fraught with tension. But rather than shrink away from it, I willed myself to square my shoulders, knowing that we'd faced worse together. As I felt the heaviness wrapping around us, my heart seemed to pulse louder than the chaos. "Emily, remember the stories I told you, the ones about strength?" My voice softened in an effort to instill courage. "We can face this together. Let's allow that strength to guide us." But the shadows responded with an ominous hiss, tugging at the edges of my existence, threatening to unravel the fragile lines of connection I fought so hard for. "Just trust me. Together," Emily shouted once more, raising her other hand toward the swirling depths. In a moment of sheer desperation, I closed my eyes, grounding myself in the essence of Emily's presence beside me. A rush of warmth filled me, ignited by the memories of laughter we shared, the dreams we still chased, and the fierce bond we forged through every trial that had come our way. "You're part of me," I whispered, feeling that truth resonate through every fiber of my being. "Mom," Emily's voice broke through, steady and fierce. "We have to show them who we are." In that throbbing heartbeat, light ignited from within our hands, a brilliant glow pouring forth that fractured the darkness surrounding us, dispersing it like mist before the sun. I could feel the vibrant energy swell around Emily and me, as the light of our connection pierced through the deep layers of shadows. As the vortex shrieked, desperate to reclaim its hold, the shadows hesitated, swirling uneasily around us, recoiling from the brightness emerging. And in that pivotal moment, I caught a glimpse of fear in Isabel's gaze. This selfless second ID hardly registered before was now thriving, vibrating through the garden. "Trust the bond," she whispered, a hush overtaking the turmoil, and it was as if the very air shimmered with her words that I turned back to Emily, who was watching me with wide eyes that reflected the dawning realization power didn't solely lie in our struggles, but in how we intertwined them with love. Together, we shouted in unison, our voices resonating like a song breaking through dissonance. A surge of light leapt forth, wrapping us in warmth as the dark began to melt away, reforming into shapes that sparked memories I long thought buried beneath layers of grief. But just as I dared to hope, a new darkness emerged, thicker and more insidious than before. A twist of despair clutched at my heart as I glimpsed silhouettes materializing within the whirlpool. Familiar faces dimmed by shadows that thrived in anguish, figures binding my past with my present, hovering on the edges of the light that flickered between us. "No," I gasped, my chest tightening at the sight of those I had lost. "Not now." The shifting scenery, like a movie played backward, unveiled moments of chaos, a father's anguished cries, a mother's desperate decision, a fractured family torn apart, and suddenly, all the threads I fought to weave into harmony seemed to unravel, coaxed towards darkness once more. "Focus," Isabel urged, her presence weighed down by the emotional tempest swirling around us. "Those shadows exist in your heart, but now is the time to reclaim them. They will not erase you. Emily squeezed my hand tighter, her voice barely above a whisper yet steady. Mom, remember who we are. The shadows writhed and writhed, daring us to be intimidated by the fractures of our past. No, I said, forcing my voice to rise above the cacophony. You will not define us. With a violent surge, we pushed back against the tide, intensifying the light that pulsed around us, the bond, the love, forging a barrier against the chaos. But with it came a price, a heaviness threatening to buckle under the weight of the choice we were about to make. Then I heard something murmur from within the shadows, an echoing voice I recognized but couldn't fully grasp. You can't hide from what you are. You've always known the truth. You know what must be done, Mom. Emily urged, her words drawing me back to the moment, the shadows still swirling with big truths lingering just beyond our grasp. We can't turn away now. We've fought too hard for this moment, and just when the surge felt tangible, the darkness roared back with an unearthly force, threatening to overwhelm us. I could feel it all slipping away, the light, the garden, our hopes doused as I held on to Emily, frantically fighting to push back against the despair trying to choke the air from my lungs. Then we fight. I cried, realization blazing in my chest that the shadows could not steal what we dared to hold, the complexity of our past, the light begging to thrive beyond it, our voices unified, chanting a prayer wrapped in determination as the light surged, battling the shadows that reached hungrily for us, igniting a pathway that, no matter how winding, became the embodiment of our strength. But as we charged forward, pushing against whatever lay ahead, the force of darkness reached out ruthlessly, coiling around us with one last desperate grasp, and in that moment, I felt an unyielding crack beneath my feet, a shift that threatened to unfurl everything I thought I held dear. As the ground splintered, reality twisted, and an ominous voice echoed forth from the shadows. You thought you could escape the darkness, but it is only just beginning. A scream erupted as we were thrown into the abyss, the light flickering desperately, and I knew we were plunging into an unknown void, our fates dangling precariously over a precipice that threatened to tear apart the very fabric of who we were. The chasm yawned before us, a swirling abyss that seemed to mock our efforts as we plummeted into the void. I reached for Emily, desperation clawing at my insides. The cold darkness enveloped us, suffocating what remained of the light we'd fought so fiercely to protect. In that moment, the terrifying sensation of loss settled over me like a suffocating shroud, and I squeezed Emily's hand tighter, determined not to let go even as gravity pulled us into the unknown. When we landed, if landing was even the right word, it was not with the comforting solidity I had hoped for. We tumbled onto a surface that rippled beneath us like water but was devoid of any substance. The shadows coalesced around us, crawling up our legs, whispering insidious promises of despair. Mom, we're okay. Emily shouted, her voice cutting through the oppressive darkness like a beacon. But even with her words, the doubt began to fester. We've faced worse, she continued, her spirit unwavering, but as I looked around at the swirling shadows, I could feel my resolve waning. I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the strength of her presence beside me. Together, I reminded her, though my heart raced with uncertainty. We've always faced everything together. The shadows shifted and twisted, revealing outlines of people I wished I could forget, figures from my past that had come to drag me down once more. There, in the churn of darkness, I saw my father's face, etched with disappointment, my mother's shadows following like an affront, reminders of the burdens I had tried so hard to shed. Mom. Emily's voice broke through my reverie, urgency lacing her tone. Don't let them win. Remember who you are. Drawing on the last remnant of hope, I gathered Emily close, feeling the warmth of her spirit bolster mine. We won't let them define us, I whispered fiercely, channeling all the better moments we had shared. An art project that became a masterpiece, the laughter during dance parties in the living room, the quiet nights with stories before bed. We have to move. But just as I thought we had found our footing, the shadows surged, magnifying the specters of our past into nightmares that clawed at our sanity. Those shades whispered echoes of long-buried pain, dredging up the unspeakable hurt, the fears I had tried to bury deep within. You failed, they hissed, you can never protect her from the truth. No. I roared, the roar seemingly mixing with the roiling darkness. You will not take her from me. We have fought too long, too hard. As if my defiance ignited the last flickers of light within me, a pulse surged between Emily and me, refracting through the dark and illuminating a path forward. It was as if the shadows, emboldened by doubt, were rallying to reclaim what they thought belonged to them. Yet as I focused on the bond with my daughter, strength began to replace fear. "Emily, take my hand," I urged, and she grasped it tightly. "We will face this together, no matter how daunting," I vowed, years of heartache driving my determination. Beneath our feet, the surface twisted, a kaleidoscope of memories fading in and out, colorful bursts of laughter alongside painful recollections. I had to fight the urge to retreat, to shy away from the kaleidoscope of hurt choking the air around us, but I also felt glimmers of something new emerging within those tumultuous memories, understanding, clearer than ever before. "Every part of us," I said, my voice steadying, "even the shadows serve a purpose. They are part of our journey." The darkness hesitated, then seemed to shudder, as if my words struck a chord, the shadows flickering back a fraction. I glanced at Emily, whose eyes were wide, filled with unyielding faith that pushed back against my lingering doubts. "There's still hope," she said softly, squeezing my hand. "We can forgive. We can let go." But before I could respond, a blinding flash tore through the mist, erupting from within the shadows, and there it was, something familiar, something I longed to see. An apparition of my younger self, a reflection of the woman I had been long before grief and despair had taken. "Root, let me in," my younger self whispered, eyes glistening with unspent tears and untold dreams. "It's time to embrace the truth." Staring at my own reflection sent chills down my spine, the uncanny brilliance of seeing myself almost unbearable. It ignited something within. It was half buried under layers of grief and fear, yet deep down, I could feel Ida flicker, struggling to break free. "Mom. Look." Emily's voice pulled me back, and I noticed then that amidst the shifting shadows, silhouettes of kindness began to seep through, two faces filled with compassion, moments of unexpected kindness that spoke of resilience. Among them, I recognized Isabel, her gentle face lit with an ethereal glow, her arms outstretched as if beckoning us to follow. "You are not alone," she urged, kindness radiating like the dawn breaking through the night. "These shadows may linger, but you have the power to choose how they shape you." With newfound resolve, we took a collective step forward, approaching my younger self, surrounded by shards of light and moments that illuminated deeper values: love, forgiveness, and the strength to reclaim what was ours. But just as we reached forth, the darkness roared once more, its wrath intensifying, carrying a chilling message that raced through the air, echoing amongst the shadows swirling around us. "You think you can escape? You think that facing the truth will suffice? This is only the beginning." Then, with horrifying speed, the ground beneath us trembled, fissures cracking through like lightning strikes, and the chasm widened even further, threatening to consume everything we had fought for, dragging us back toward the very depths from which we had tried to escape. All at once, I felt a visceral pull as the edges of my past began to tear away. The shadows closed in around us as I realized that even my past was not only haunted but also a part of this terrifying present. A horrifying truth struck deeper than the abyss itself. The very essence of my struggle was tethered to the choices I had made and the parts of me I had long since buried. "Mom!" Emily screamed, and in the flickering chaos, I turned to her, heart pounding. The shadows twisted overhead, a palpable darkness bore down upon us with visceral force. In that moment, I realized the true horror of our predicament. It wasn't just the darkness around but the darkness within, the painful truths we had yet to confront that loomed as an ever-present threat. Time seemed to stretch as the divide between us widened, and just as despair threatened to consume me, I knew we had to seize the fleeting fragments of hope surrounding us. The choice remained ours, whether to shatter the remnants of our past or embrace the love that had always been our core. Yet as the chasm threatened to swallow us whole, I felt an undeniable urge, a fierce need to confront the shadows within, not just for myself but for Emily, and all I could muster was one more echoing call. Together, as the ground trembled violently beneath us, I grasped Emily's hand tighter than ever, ready to leap into the uncertain void, knowing that this time, no matter what awaited us, love would be our greatest weapon against the darkness. The tremors of the chasm unveiled a dizzying view, a spiraling descent that threatened to pull us apart as effectively as the shadows that loomed around us. My thoughts raced with worry, a whirlwind of uncertainties flooding my mind. The darkness seemed to whisper secrets meant only for us, to instill fear. But Emily's grip was a lifeline, anchoring me as I fought to silence the fears that clamored for control. "Mom," she shouted through the tempest. "We need to focus. We can't let them separate us." Her resolve ignited a spark within me. It was as though every stolen moment of love and laughter we had shared was colliding with the darkness, reminding me that hope exists alongside pain. I needed to channel that hope now more than ever, to guide us through this all-consuming abyss. "Stick together," I called back firmly, and with each step, we echoed the words of strength and affirmation that had spurred us on throughout our lives. Tiny triumphs, like painting sunny landscapes when the world outside felt gray, began to flash through my mind, illuminating the shadows around us. But the shadows were relentless. As we moved, they morphed into twisted, grotesque images of our fierce and unfinished painting of my mother looking disappointed, echoes of words left unspoken, the price of often considered sacrifices that felt heavy on my heart. Then, amidst the churning chaos that rattled my core, an unexpected figure emerged, a face both familiar and cherished, my next-door neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, the kind elderly lady who always brought cookies during the holiday season. "You're not alone, dear," she whispered, her ghostly form radiating warmth and comfort. "Remember the good that still exists in this world." Her presence filled me with a quiet strength, and I felt Emily's grip tighten. The power of unexpected kindness surged back into view, reminding me of the people who had stepped forward in times of trouble, unasked but always needed. Vivid memories of the neighborhood after a storm, neighbors exchanging supplies, laughter echoing while sharing stories amidst the remnants of chaos flooded my heart. "Hope is a choice," I murmured, feeling the shadows waver ever so slightly. "It's something we make together." I turned to Emily, whose eyes shined with determination fueled by the thought of those precious moments we cherished. "Let's push forward." Together, as we pressed on through the tremors and whispers, more faces emerged from the swirling shadows, each reminiscent of the love and kindness I had experienced: my childhood friend who stood by my side during heartbreak, the teacher who breathed life into art when I felt like giving up, the smiling barista who brightened gloomy mornings with simple gestures. Each vignette lit the path through the darkness, illuminating pieces within ourselves that we thought long forgotten. Among them, I spotted another ghostly figure. It was Isabel again, this time more defined, her smile soft and encouraging. "You've forgotten your power, but it's always been there," she urged, a light glowing from her being. It cast aside lingering fears and self-doubt, hinting at the potential that bubbled beneath the surface. "You have the strength to shape your past." My heart swelled, exhilaration coursing through me. I cupped Emily's cheek with my free hand. "We can take back our story, my love," I said, injecting all the buoyancy I could muster into my steady gaze. "Let this darkness guide us to the light." Just then, the chasm roared with fury as if jealous of our new resolve, and a thick, ominous fog descended, severing the bond of luminous memories. It howled around us, stealing warmth, clinging like ice to bare skin. The warmth of the figures grew distant, as I felt a jolt of fear penetrate my steadfast exterior. A deeper reality began to swirl into focus, of memories unexamined and truths unsaid, threads of pain entwined within love. "Mom," Emily said, eyes wide with fear as shadows began tugging at the edges of our lives. What if we don't win this time?" I pulled her close, wrapping her small frame in my arms, and felt her heartbeat sink with mine. "Emily, listen to me. Remember that moment when you held my hand, and we painted together? We created something beautiful. Every time we stumble, we learn, and we keep going. We won't waver, that strength is in us." Then came a tremor of fissure crackling beneath our feet, unsettling our momentum, a stark reminder of the truths we refused to confront. The ground no longer felt solid, and I instinctively shielded Emily with my body, terrified of the dark entity ready to swallow us whole. "Don't panic," I managed to shout over the howling darkness that surrounded us. "We'll find our way. We have to overcome this." At last, a voice emerged from the turmoil, clearer than all the others. "Face it. Only then can you move forward." My younger self echoed, an urgency shaking her voice. Suddenly, the shadows lunged forward, clawing at my confidence, spiraling even deeper into the chasm that threatened to engulf us. The darkness attempted to draw my young spirit back, chains of past burdens choking the fresh bloom of hope, and in a fleeting glimpse, I could see my former self, paralyzed by the weight of choices that shattered the dreams I had once held close. Let go. Let go. She shrieked, a stark warning that reverberated through the abyss. The truth must be confronted. The air crackled with tension. I couldn't ignore her desperation. Staring down the shadows, my pulse soared, battling the fear that drove me as I gripped Emily's hand tighter. With each word, I was breaking open the dam of truth, and time slowed. No more running. No more hiding. I found the courage in my voice, fierce and unwavering as the tendrils of darkness wriggled greedily around our ankles. As I stood ready to confront the darkness head-on, though, the ground shattered beneath our feet, and a scream filled the air, a raw, gut-wrenching cry that emerged from somewhere deep within the chasm and echoed across the void. Mom. Don't. Do you think they'll stop? Emily tugged on my arm, fear dancing in her eyes, but there was something more, a sense of clarity. Emily. My heart sank even deeper as the shadows twisted and receded, edging us further into the gaping maw of fear and vulnerability. The realization hit like a thunderbolt. I would do anything to shield her from this pain, but deep down, I understood that in facing the darkness, we could create a new kind of strength, together. I shouted, desperation burning in my chest, and facing the dark shadows swirling before us, I prepared to leap forward only to find that the chasm was closing in, slicing the thin thread between us. The last thing I heard was Emily's small voice, tinged with fear and unwavering trust. I believe in you. As the ground beneath me plummeted, the abyss roaring back to swallow our precious bond whole. And as I fell, a chilling thought encroached upon my mind, lingering like a profound truth I couldn't articulate. What if confronting the demons of the past meant losing what I held most dear? The darkness enveloped me, swallowing my cries as I plummeted deeper into the abyss. I felt weightless, and an inexplicable sensation enveloped my heart, a blend of fear, longing, and the desperate hope for Emily's safety. In the midst of my downward spiral, memories spiraled with me, each more fragile than the last, and each reminding me of the bonds I held dear, quickly becoming intangible. Somehow, amidst the chaos, I landed softly on a dirt path, littered with half-formed visions of a life before pain. Sunlight filtered through the treetops overhead, creating a dance of light that felt foreign in the chasm's clutches. I found myself standing in a place that pulsed with familiarity, yet it felt surreal, an echo of my childhood, mingling with the present. That I glanced down the path, and to my astonishment, it branched into two. One side led deeper into the darkness while the other illuminated gentle fragments of laughter, warmth, and love. My heart ached for Emily, whose voice lingered in my mind, a tether to hope that urged me toward my lighter path. Yet, the shadows prodded, whispering of my own fears, the many ways I'd faltered in protecting her, in being present enough. Just then, a flicker caught my eye, movement among the trees. Taking a breath, I walked cautiously toward it. Suddenly, a figure materialized. Mrs. Thompson again, but this time guided by something less ethereal, more concrete. This was a moment woven from memory, but also an apparition captured from the care of my past. Stay strong, dear, she said, her voice laced with reassurance. They need you, and you need them. You must choose your path. Her words clung to me, lifting my spirits momentarily, ruling out the lingering self-doubt. However, just as quickly, the wind shifted, carrying a haunting sigh that reminded me of all I had put at risk. What if I lead them into danger? I whispered, the weight of uncertainty threatening to crush me. Now is not the time for doubts, she admonished gently. You wield the power to navigate through this shadowed world. Trust in your instincts and, above all, trust in love. Tears welled in my eyes as the memories of laughter and companionship assaulted my senses once more. I envisioned Emily's freckles lit by sunlight, her laughter cascading like a melody that propelled me forward. I couldn't bear the thought of losing that, of losing her. Not to this darkness. Find your light, Mrs. Thompson urged, pointing towards the brighter path. It will guide you back. As I prepared to move toward that radiant light, a tremor shook the earth beneath, urging urgency into my steps. I rushed, heart pounding, determined to rejoin Emily, who must be grappling with shadows far worse than my own. With each step towards hope, I could feel Emily's essence shimmering in the air, whispering encouragement, pushing me to reclaim what had been momentarily torn asunder, but as I broke into full sprint, the enchanting brightness began to flicker, dimming under the intensity of the shadows encroaching from behind. The moment I reached for the last vestige of light shining ahead, I felt an icy grip seize my ankle, dark fingers of despair attempting to drag me backward. "Mom!" A distant call echoed through the spirals of darkness that surrounded me, sending shivers cascading down my spine. It was Emily, a voice laced with fear, waiting somewhere in the tumult of shadows. No. I shouted back, clutching the wisp of light that illuminated my way. My mind raced. I had to fight through the past riddled with mistakes and regrets that formed chains inviting me to retreat into that familiar pain. "I'm coming, Emily. I won't abandon you." The shadows wrapped tighter, the reality of what lay ahead pressing upon me. I had no certainty of safety or a glimpse of what awaited me on the other side of that celestial glow. With the last ounce of strength pouring into my limbs, I lunged forward, breaking free from the clutches of despair, the light pulling me onward, toward the only thing that mattered, Emily. As I approached the light's edge, I witnessed a shocking image, a distorted reflection of my past, a haunting reminder of choices born of desperation. The scene shifted, and for a heart-stopping moment, I caught a glimpse of Emily, surrounded by swirling shadows, her expression a mirror of fear and determination. A pale specter hovered by her side, whispering words that twisted the very fabric of our bond. It felt like time stalled as dread filled my chest. The visage of the woman beside Emily, her gaze directed deeply into my daughter's eyes. The woman bore a striking resemblance to me, but there was something darker, something more tragic in her expression. Was she another version of me, a shadow of what I could have become if I'd allowed the darkness to win? "Mom! Please!" Emily's cry echoed, piercing through the haze, laced with desperation that fanned the flames of my fierce determination. "Don't leave me!" I lunged forth, heart racing, fighting against the wave of shadows that trembled at our connection. These shadows wanted to sever our bond, wanted to claim her, the only treasure I had left. With each disorienting whirl of energy, I realized I was not the only one clinging to hope. Emily was too. Her strength surged like a beacon in the dark, and together, we had the power to rewrite our narrative, even if it felt like I was fully unraveling. And as the specter's shadowy tendrils tightened around her, the moment reached a spine-chilling climax. I understood that the woman from the dark past sought to claim Emily, to turn her into another shadow roaming this abyss. The realization hit hard. It wasn't just me against the darkness, it was a battle for Emily's spirit too. I gasped, grasping the bright light fiercely, allowing its warmth to flow through me. "I won't allow the darkness to take you," I screamed, channeling every ounce of love and strength I had into that singular declaration. The fissure of shadows quaked, revealing an unsettling truth. The line between light and dark, love and pain, was painfully thin. As I surged forward, I could feel the shadows fight back, clawing at my resolve, but with the echo of Emily's faith ringing in my heart, I dared to confront the essence of all those burdens I carried. And as I broke through the final remnants of the dark barrier, a thunderclap of realization struck. A jagged shard of absolute clarity arose from the depths. What if the very act of reclaiming my past would mean uncovering buried truths that bound us to those shadows forever? My footing wavered, the answer looming heavy, a choice yet to be made, those truths cascading before me like a beautiful curse. But with Emily in the clutches of shadows, I could let nothing sway me. I reached out and, hand in hand, we would face whatever terror awaited, ready to forge a new path or tear down the chains that sought to bind us forever together. Through the darkness, we would carve our ultimate destiny, no matter the cost. But just as my fingers skimmed the edge of hers, the darkness surged. The agonizing cry from my younger self echoed, "Let go. It's the only way," leaving me breathless, teetering on the precipice of the truth yet to be unearthed. Would I dare surrender the past to shield my daughter? Would I embrace the full weight of the darkness to truly understand the light? As I reached for her again, the darkness surged violently, engulfing us both in its grasp. Everything froze, and in that moment, a chilling whisper unfurled through the fog of fear. What if letting in the shadows was the only way to save her? And at that moment, I knew that while the abyss was drawing us in, the deeper battle had just begun. The darkness tightened its grip around us, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I might lose Emily entirely. The shadows swirled, twisting their icy tendrils around my heart, their whispers cold and taunting. Every specter from my past called out, threatening to drown me in regret. Yet, as I hovered on the edge of despair, the warmth of Emily's hand grounded me, binding us together against the storm. "Mom." Her voice rang clear, cutting through the cacophony of my worries. It was a lifeline, and I clung to it, beads of hope shimmering in the thick blackness. "We can't give up, believe in me," I whispered, my voice fragile as the remnants of courage surged. "Believe in us." It dawned on me then, amidst the swirling despair, that both the shadows and the light coexisted within our journey. Both held stories waiting to be heard. With each pulse of my heart, I began to see glimpses of those stories, the times I had failed Emily, moments wrapped in shadows, but also the laughter we shared, the soothing moments when I held her through the storms. I felt strength rise within me, resolute and unyielding. The darkness might try to separate us, but my love for her anchored me, filling the empty spaces with light. That I closed my eyes, drawing on every emotion that had led me to this moment, the joy of Emily's laughter, the pain of my own losses, all intertwining to build a bridge to what I hoped lay ahead. I had been so afraid to confront the past, but now I understood. Our journey wasn't just about defeating the shadows, but about embracing every part of our narrative. It was time to stake a claim on the light we shared. That I took a step forward, pushing through the fog of doubt that clung to me like a second skin. "We're not just going to face this," I declared, my voice firmer now, resonating with purpose. "We're going to embrace it." Together. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, surprised by the force rising from us. Emily squeezed my hand, her eyes wide with a mix of wonder and trust, urging me on. "We can find the way." "I feel it, Mom." "Then let's find it," I replied, exhaling deeply as warmth flooded my being. "Let's listen to our shadows and learn what they need to share with us." I could hear the whispered secrets now, but rather than chilling me, they felt like echoes of understanding. With deliberate strides, we approached the foreboding darkness, holding fast to each other. As we moved, the shadows shifted like a wavy curtain, once hostile but now oddly curious, reflecting back pieces of ourselves that had long been ignored. Each doubt, each mistake, each loss. But this time, facing them felt different. There was no retreat, only the courage to dig deeper into who we were and what we had experienced. "Let them show us," I said, gently pulling Emily closer. "Maybe they just want to remind us of the choices we've made." As if to affirm my words, a sudden gust of energy surged around us, illuminating the edges without consuming us wholly. Memories danced forth, vivid and fierce, painful moments woven with love, all mixed together like colors twisting on a palette. And through them, I saw the beauty of resilience, the fierce devotion that tethered us like galaxies pulling one another into orbit. "Mom." Emily's voice cut through. "Look." The shadows rearranged themselves into a kaleidoscope of images at the beach, her laughter sparkling like sunlight on the waves, a loved one lost, but then their smile cut through the fog of tears shared over victory, and finally, glimpses of us caring for one another through unspoken fears. That I gasped, realizing these shadows were not only guarding the pains of the past but holding truths essential to our continued journey. They yearned to exist together with the love that had somehow survived in the face of adversity. "They aren't here to harm us. They're here to help us recognize who we've become," I said softly, turning to Emily. She nodded, steps firm as if she were stitching together the fragments of experiences that had shaped us. "They helped us grow. We must accept them." In that moment, I understood what we needed to do. "We need to forgive ourselves," I said, my voice quavering with emotion. "Forgive the shadows their hold on us, forgive ourselves for the fears and doubts we've harbored. Let's find acceptance." "Yes," Emily shouted, lifting her chin as stars ignited within her eyes. The shadows shimmered in response, swirling around us with an intensity that felt like a benevolent embrace. We stood together, channeling our mutual strength, and with that, the darkness shivered and dimmed, mimicking the luminous awakening gathering around us. Together, we both spoke, voices joining in a soothing crescendo against the rising tumult. As we breathed in sync, the air crackled with warmth, our laughter mingling with the soft illumination engulfing us. It felt like homey, a warmth that clung around us, whispering of transformations and lost dreams converging on this singular point in time. A soft echo reached my conscience, one that had long been muffled beneath layers of regret. "I am here, I've always been here," it murmured gently, a voice I knew all too well. A flash of understanding washed over me, a memory of a child's laughter ringing through our home, the bond of trust that would guide us back to one another, not just Emily and I, but all those who'd walked with us. "Mom," Emily whispered, then glanced around as if feeling their presence too. "We're all together, aren't we?" "Yes, my love." Our voices intertwined, wrapping around the shadows like twinkling stars caught in a net of love. We pressed forward, hand in hand, merging the past with the present. The shadows transformed, reshaping themselves into fragments of light, bathing us in a brilliant glow that shielded us from despair, and in that moment of unity, the darkness broke apart entirely. I realized we weren't merely surviving, we were thriving, crafting a tapestry of understanding that encompassed every joy and sorrow, stitching every part of our journey back together into something whole. With a heart filled with undeniable warmth, I let the shadows embrace us gently, becoming gently intertwined in the fabric of who we were, and as they faded, an oddly familiar warmth blossomed within me, warmth of acceptance. With each breath, I felt lighter, freer. In the glimmering aftermath, I turned toward Emily, her eyes bright with wonder and love. "There's beauty in the dark and the light," I said, my heart fluttering with revelation. "Both must exist for us to go forward." As I looked into her radiant face, emotions welled up, everything I had fought for echoing within those depths, every moment leading to this sublime realization, culminating in a profound moment of profound clarity. With a joyful spirit, we turned to face the bright horizon stretching before us, a landscape where shadows danced alongside sunlight, where challenges converged into opportunity. The world no longer felt like a place of fear but one of promise and potential, where the bond we forged transcended time and emerged stronger than ever. In that space, with my daughter by my side, I understood the true meaning of healing. And as we took our first steps into this renewed life, it was with unwavering faith that whispered the powerful truth: together, we can forge our own story, facing the light and dark, forever intertwined.